Hi, this is Phil Potempa, and welcome to another edition of Notoriety. I'm your host, each week bringing you everything you want to make sure you mark on the calendar, what's not to be missed. Things happening in Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland, and beyond. And, of course, this is the broadcast over the airways equivalent of all the feature stories, columns you'll read in the flagship Post-Tribune, and everything captured underneath the umbrella of Chicago Tribune Media. You can find all those feature stories and columns at chicagotribune.com. Of course, we couldn't be here without the generosity of our underwriters and our sponsors, our friends at People's Bank, our arts advocates, Andy and Sue Arnold, Theater at the Center, our home away from home at the Center for Visual and Performing Arts, 1040 Ridge Road. And in the past 9 years of this broadcast and our weekly series, we want to thank the folks at Legacy Foundation, Indiana Arts Commission, and of course the listeners and viewers. Some of you tuned in through your traditional radio dial, 12:30 a.m. as we broadcast from the Strachan Van Til studios here in the heart of Hammond. Others maybe have found us on social media, our YouTube feed, or you just were streaming and you thought, this looks interesting, I think I'm going to join along for the ride. If you do have the added advantage of the cameras to our window of the world, you might think, looks like we're about to serve lunch or dinner, depending on when you're tuned in with us. Well, we want to stamp, first of all, that our broadcast is happening on what is April the 16th. So in case you're hearing as our rebroadcast, you want to plan accordingly, April the 16th, 2026. And our guests are the folks that are from the cast and producing team of the Dining Room Marian Theatre Guild. That's their spring production, and it's opening this coming weekend. So we are going to start all the way down with Marty Dybel, who's the man who makes so much of it happen behind the scenes.
Morning,
Introduce our
Phil.
other
How
guests.
are you?
I'm doing great. Next we have
Elliot Bibat, cast member, actor two.
Actor 2, and
Kierra Bailey, actress too. Sorry.
very good. And everybody is branded with their hats, which has become a tradition for Marian Theatre Guild. There's one right here in front of me as well. So when we get some sunshine later today, we'll put it on. But we've got them on for our branding. Let everybody know. Again, it's a 2-weekend opportunity. So here's your chance. So we're going to start with that commercial right away to get all of the details. But we discuss exactly why you want to pull up a chair at the dining room. So who wants to give us all the details for our folks that are tuned in?
Well, we open Saturday, the 18th of April, and we are the Saturdays, the 18th and 25th of April at 7:30, and Sundays, April 19 and 26 at 3 p.m. matinee.
Okay. And so we have our 2 weekends of it. So anybody that's thinking, I think I might do the Friday night. Not Friday night.
No,
we're talking
we're not
Saturdays
Friday.
And Sundays.
Yeah.
And Saturdays have a hidden bonus that Marty's holding out on us. If you might pick a Saturday.
We have our dinner show. Our dinner show is now 62 years old.
Oh, wow. Which
Yes.
seems perfectly appropriate for this play title by A.R. Gurney, The Dining Room, because you get a chance to sort of feast and fellowship prior to the show. And it's all one-stop shopping, because all this happens at the auditorium that's based in what complex?
The St. John Parochial Center, St. John the Baptist Catholic Church at 119th Street and Lincoln Avenue in Whiting.
It's so easy to get to, easy parking, and again, as it was hinted to by our friends from Marian Theatre Guild, they know a thing or two about this. They've been doing this for a few years, a few decades. How many years total? How many seasons?
Well, the Guild was established in 1928 as the St. John Drama Club. We're a parish organization of St. John the Baptist Catholic Church.
Okay.
And in those days, it was they would rehearse in the church basement, build the scenery in the church basement, and then 2 weeks before the show opened, everything got moved over to the Whiting Community Center and put together, and the shows were at the Whiting Community. Well, actually, or the first year, we were at the Slovensky Dome on 119th Street, which is the American Slovak Club's building.
Uh-huh.
They had a stage also with one of those old ad curtains with all the ads from Community on them. Yeah. And then,
Old school days.
Eventually, then we did go over to the Whiting Community Center in 1955. Our auditorium was built. The new school at St. John's was built in '49, and then the addition of the of classrooms, social rooms, the auditorium, and the gymnasium was added in 1955. Prior to 1955, with the St. John Drama Club, you had to be a parishioner to participate.
Okay.
In 1955, when we moved into our own space, Marian Memorial Auditorium, thus Marian Theatre Guild, it was open to the public.
You know, right now from the heavens, I know somebody that's smiling down with all this history and timeline, and that's got to be our own Gail Casalco, right?
Oh,
Which
God,
we
yes,
should give a
yes.
nod since our first
Yes.
broadcast, all of us together.
Yes.
For those of you that probably are thinking, I know the name, you could know it from the Times newspaper. She had a regular column to let everybody know what was happening in Whiting and Robertsdale area, but also more recently she'd be on the show a lot because I mentioned about history because of her attachments with historical
The Whiting
parts.
Robertsdale Historical Society.
Yeah.
Yes. she's
Really a
become
mover and
very
a
active in
shaker,
that.
and she is so missed. And very active also with the drama and theatrics at Marian
Oh, yeah.
Theatre
Well, yeah.
Guild, right?
She and her husband, Chuck Casalco, met. They were part of what was the nickname, the Marian Theatre Guild. And they met each other in 1971 in our fall production of Fiddler on the Roof. We were the first theater group nationally to be able to get the rights to Fiddler when it became public.
Really? So once it was available, because it had its long runs on Broadway,
Oh,
you
yeah.
were the first organization to do a regional stage and get that.
Yes,
that
as an amateur group. Yes.
That is fantastic. And then what
Yeah.
a beautiful romance story that those two meet.
Yes.
And then they continue to play out a chapter for so many years
Yeah.
until just losing her just
Yeah.
earlier this spring. I think I thought I'd read somewhere about the dining room happening. Oh, that's right. It was in the Post Tribune this morning in this edition in my column. So in that column, I talk about how I had a special connection to this particular title, A.R. Gurney being the playwright. Back when I was a college student, this was the very first dramatic play that I was assigned to do a review of. And at the time, I was just brand new, of course, learning journalism and learning the craft, as were the students and the actors doing the campus production of it at VU. So my review is a little bit checkered. I have not seen another production or explored it again, so I'm excited to see what this is about. Has it been done previously at Marian Theatre Guild, and if
No.
so, how long?
No, we've never done this show before.
Because it's only
Theatre
from the
Guild premiere.
80s,
Yeah.
right? Because it was just introduced around 1982.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got done so many titles, but this was not one. So here's a first time to see it with your group's leadership.
Well, and through our director, the show is being directed by Morgan McCabe, who has a wonderful
Oh, yeah.
resume of experience, and she selected this show and presented it to us. And for those of you who had seen the birthday candles a couple of years ago, she also directed that, and to much acclaim.
I have a matching hat that'll go right along with this one. That is with
It's a little more colorful.
It is a little bit more colorful. I wasn't about to try to describe the synopsis of this show. I kind of chickened out with my column today, and I just used what the playwright has on the inside of the script. Who's going to tackle that so we can entice our readers and viewers to know why they want to pull up a chair to the dining room for these 2 weekends of performances by Marian Theatre
Yeah, I
Guild?
think I can help with that, Phil. So, basically, one of the opening stage directions that I love that Gurney opens up with is a sense of void surrounds the room. So the audience is just shown some sparse furniture, like a china cabinet, sideboard with a mirror, but the centerpiece is this dining room table. And myself and Kierra and 4 other actors, we play a combined total of 50 characters in little vignettes that span like 5 decades, from the 1930s to the early 1980s. And we just get a snapshot of the middle-class American life. It's really interesting because Gurney, I believe, kind of wrote this as a eulogy for the American WASP culture
That
of
upper
the 20th
class
century.
tradition,
Yes.
correct? Yeah.
But what's really interesting, and Morgan has really done a lot of awesome work for, is finding moments that the audience can say, "Oh, I've been there. I've felt this. I've done that," and it's when I spoke about it with Morgan a couple of weeks ago in my column for the Right Stuff. She says that it's about the things that are passed down to us, what's passed down to us, and how it changes us for the worse or for the better. And hopefully we find the better in the things that are passed down to us.
If you tune in and you have the added advantage again of the video cameras, or those are on the radio dial, our landscape, streetscape that we have here in front of us are some dining room place settings. There's a box of sterling silver. Again, the traditions of things you might have in a very formal dining room setting. So what you're going to see is again, from my publicity photos that I've seen, like in the column I have today in the Post Tribune, an opulent, formal dining room setting, a cast of 6 portraying story vignettes that cover a cast of how many characters?
Like 50 plus. And like, I know like Kevin Sherman is another cast member. He's a longtime Guild veteran. He goes from playing like a 30-year-old man to an 8-year-old boy to like an 80-year-old man. And Susan Bobas has a very similar track.
There are different
well.
vignettes, as I mentioned, as these characters slip in and out. I'm going to ask each of you, and I know you might think, oh, this is like trying to pick a favorite child, but what was one of the scenes that resonated the most with you? I know there's one where a grandmother's struggling with memory issues. There's another time with, I think some marital things. Which of those is the scene that maybe speaks to you, or when you do it, it's just a tug on the heartstrings, or which of those characters, starting with when you've seen the rehearsals and the run-through so far, Marty? Is there one that hits
I haven't
home?
seen a lot of it, so
You're busy painting
I'm
wallpapering.
no, I'm not painting. It's a very simple set, and I did the floor.
Oh, you did the floor this time.
I put the floor in. Yes.
So this will be a surprise with the crew
You like
that goes
the floor?
in. You'll see her.
Oh, very good.
But can you pick one, Ellie, out of all the roster you have to step in and out of?
Man, 'cause
for a scene that really hits home with you and you think,
Oh man,
this tugs at me?
it's hard to pick because like the scene that I've had the most fun working in. I mean, I play like a 50, 60-year-old father whose daughter is coming home with her 3 children, letting her know that like we gotta stay here. I've got nowhere else to go. I actually performed that scene with another Guild regular, Caitlin Kovach, who's also in this production. And then there is another scene that tugs on my heartstrings personally. Is Kevin Sherman plays my father. I don't want to give too much away, though. He plays my father, and out of nowhere, he just says, okay, I want to plan my funeral. And as his eldest son, I have to sit there and be like, okay, Pop. And he's like, oh, here's my obituary. Here's the photo I want to use.
I can give you a business card.
I was going to say, Marty might have some experience with this. And just a public service announcement is that might see, especially for our younger generation, something that's like, oh, why, boy, does that help so much, right, Marty?
Oh, yeah.
When folks have helped given an idea of what their expectations are. Otherwise, as a child or as a spouse, you're trying to think and second guess, and you're doing it all the time when you're very stressed. So I can see why that one would hit home, but that's our public service announcement, right, Marty,
Yes.
for everybody?
Yeah. But Kierra, what's your favorite character that you play?
My favorite character that I play is probably I have Aunt Harriet, who is very neurotic about the structures of the WASP culture and trying to share that, and feels almost like she's gripping to it because it's part of who she was and what her norm is. I enjoy playing her a lot because of the energy I get to have with that heavily waspy, uppity culture in it. But I will say the character I feel I relate most to, because honestly, I don't feel like I directly relate with everyone, but I think that there's parts that I see that are very familiar in all of the characters. And I think the one that I see that's most familiar is the scene with Emily and Standish, where my husband, his brother, was just outed for being gay at his community club. And it's this whole intense scene where we're trying to figure out how to tell our children. And I'm, of this mindset of like, well, things change. Like we're opening things up, but the need to maintain this image.
Sure.
I think it is very something that a lot of families can relate to, where there is a certain kind of almost branding that your family has to maintain.
That's cutting edge, considering the playwright did this in '82. That's not something that would have been a common table talk or conversation or dealt with probably in today's world. It's certainly much different. We've come so far, but it really is. It shows the span of what kind of stories you're going to have. So if you've done your work, when people leave that theater, they will be talking all the way home all weekend about a character, about a scene, about a line that resonates with them. Maybe not everybody, and that's something to be said. Time for us to get that commercial in again, so the folks that are tuned in listening, or when they're scrolling through and they found us in their social media, The run is the dining room, AR Gurney. It's our friends at Marian Theatre Guild in Whiting. We need the weekend dates, the run, and where to get tickets as well.
Saturday, April 18th and 25th at 7:30 p.m. Sundays, April 19th and 26th at 3 p.m. Marian Memorial Auditorium, part of the St. John Parochial St. John the Baptist Catholic Church complex at 119th and Lincoln Avenue. The box office is open Wednesday through Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. You can leave messages on the other days, and Betty Diaz will get back to you.
And that phone number, who has it?
Is 219-473-0713.
And there is available seating. It's a very generous venue, plenty of seats. So you could do a walk-up if you decide. You cannot do a walk-up if you want to do that dinner option on
Those
Saturday.
have to be reserved.
That should be in advance, and you will not be disappointed.
But that's up
by the
until
spread.
there are dinners available for this weekend yet, so that's up to Friday.
Okay.
You can call and make a reservation.
And-
Great food.
Oh, absolutely. Again, it's a family style kind of fellowship where you're at a table and there is a bounty. It's like the loaves and the fishes. It just
And,
keeps on giving.
and cocktails
And
are
cocktails.
included. It's
Cocktails
two
as well.
cocktails,
That's
family
right.
style dinner, dessert, and the show. Adults for the dinner show are $58. Seniors and students are $56. The show tickets are for adults $20 a ticket and $18 for seniors and students.
And then if I have this correct in my column, add the dining portion onto it for 30.
Well, it's
onto it.
dinner show is 58
I'll fold it in there. One-stop
for
shop price.
right,
Gotcha.
and then 56 for seniors and students,
for seniors and students.
and free parking.
When I was going through and writing today's column, it talked about the version that I had reviewed way back in 1989. I got a kick when I got to the very end, and it said tickets are $4 for adults, but there is a discount for seniors and students. And I'm thinking, how much more can you discount? Can you think way back, Marty, with Marian Theatre Guild when you were first starting with it? What kind of ticket prices that might have been as well?
They were dollars.
Dollars, isn't that
They were
something?
dollars. I mean, I'm there going on 59 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, if my
1967 was my first show.
if my 1989 ticket was $4 for a campus production,
Well, there's the classic
know?
line in the Broadway production of 42nd Street. They're paying $4.40 a ticket out there.
That's right, exactly. And boy, if you've been to our friends around the lake a little bit farther in the loop in downtown, you know that ticket prices are a bit of investment. But
Add another zero or two.
yes, put some parking onto it. But we will say this is forever live theater. It's an opportunity where you're seeing something that is original. It is once even though you've got 2 weekends, each one of those performances will be a unique stamp. None of them will be identical because there's a different energy. The audience can bring a different energy, a different response to a scene or something. It's like a work of art every
It's
time.
an experience not to miss. Live
Yeah.
theater. The Theater Guild, our main mission statement is that we maintain the auditorium for St. John's School. Is what we do with our money, and but we also for the last several years have started taking our 8th grade class to see Goodman's Christmas Carol every year.
Okay.
I remember that.
And one of the first years that we did this, I said to these kids, how many of you have been to a live performance before? And there were 40 kids.
Yeah.
And maybe 2 raised their hand.
Wow.
And I said to them, well, today may be a life-changing
That's right.
experience for you.
That is so true. Even when we do our kids' productions at the Performing Arts Center, Theater at the Center, the same thing. Teachers will say, we've tried to explain to students, they think, theater, they're going to go see a movie. And say, no, it's not going to be a movie. It's going to be people, and they have no real concept of that. How could you if you've not ever been introduced to it when everything has always been here?
And going back to Gail was a huge, Gail and Chuck and Debbie Zajac were all involved with the Pennsylvania Avenue Players, and that was children doing children's theater. And of course, with Gail, it was changing the script. We did Babes on 42nd Street. We did Kittens. We did Rancher. We did Rancher on the Roof.
That's fun. All adaptations.
And
Original.
They started on Pennsylvania Avenue, right in front of their home. Was where the first shows were. Right on. Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, they had chairs set up in the street. The street was closed, and it was the summer, and we encouraged her and Chuck to bring Pennsylvania Avenue players to Marian Auditorium. And so she had these kids doing children's theater. And in her tribute wall, it was very interesting to read the amount of children today who are now 50-ish
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and what that experience had done for them.
Sure.
And confidence building.
Yeah, true visionaries, both
Yeah.
of them in their day, and that continues hopefully with everybody around the desk here as we start to wrap up. A reminder that our subject we've been talking about and emphasizing all during our broadcast is this brand new run of the Dining Room, never done by Marian Theatre Guild. It's a script that's been around since 1982. And A.R. Gurney, who passed away about 5-6 years ago, is the late playwright that drafted it. You might know him more from other works like Love Letters. Love Letters has been a very, very popular, I almost call it a franchise that he's done because it's been very accessible for folks to do. And his subject matter tends to be biographical from his own life growing up on the East Coast and what we call that waspy society. Upper middle class, tradition, boarding schools. I bet you in the dining room there's probably a maid or a servant character somewhere in there, isn't there? Several. So we may not all have that experience, but even just our simple place setting, if you're tuning in to have the advantage of our video cameras, I mentioned the silver flatware and our attempt at some fancy napkin designs and placemats, that has been lost. A lot of homes do not include a formal dining room because folks aren't gathering around a table, and certainly not formally with a dinner or a cocktail hour, or using silver flatware that can't go through a dishwasher, or crystal or china, like the china cabinets and the sideboards that it would have the linens in it. It's from an era gone past, and it's one that I hope that somehow maybe gets resurrected, or some of that tradition happens. But
I have 6 sets of china.
I was going to say, Marty, and you probably hear this too. Also,
I used to use them a lot.
from your other field as well, when folks in estates happen, it used to be siblings and children would fight over grandma's flatware, or over china, over crystal, or water for just the opposite.
Yeah.
It's a very minimalistic society. Younger generations just don't. Well, first of all, they can't use it in their own house, right?
It's kind of sad because when it comes down to it, when we were kids, we're taking out the good silver.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something special.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. This is especially, and it all resonated. And I have to ask, as we close and leave on this before we'll do our final wrap up of things. In the comment I mentioned when I was a little harsh with that first review I wrote 37 years ago, part of it was the expectation. There was no Google or internet, so I believe I went to some bound copies at our Mollering Library on campus to read some of the reviews, because this would have been 1989. Mm-hmm. This was already in New York back in 82, so there were bound copies. That's how you looked up old reviews and things of what Ben Bradley in the New York Times said. And they described this opulent set, which you've been talking about. You already have that in place because I've seen the photos. But again, the fine place settings, things like finger bowls and things that did, and this particular production that I remember seeing on campus, it was so sparse that it just did not take you to that place. How has your prop master or mistress been with creating what you need for all the props and the table settings? I'm
Very
curious.
busy.
Very busy collecting like an Easter egg
a
hunt.
lot of props.
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
working with. Like different glasswares, different tumblers.
Yes.
Like
I had to go through like placemat
Yeah.
training on where
Yes.
everything is supposed to be set out, because we have
That's
the
right.
full wine goblets,
Yes.
glasses, and
Just
it was
remember,
intense.
right, Marty? Work your way in. That's what they always
That's
taught
right.
us,
Yes.
right?
First
There's-
outside, inside last.
Yeah, there's things where there's a fish fork and a soup spoon and a
Don't mix up
sorbet.
don't mix up
Yes.
the dessert fork.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's right, and your teaspoon for your coffee later. Thank you so much for being a part of our broadcast today. One more time, somebody do the Vanna White helping out of the review of the dining room details. And I should mention, this doesn't happen with Marian Guild, but I put it in my column, there is a PG-13 this time, so somebody include that as well.
Well, it's for content and
Some language, I bet,
and some-
right?
Yes, yes.
So just keep that in mind. We're
But
looking
nothing
at,
horrible, nothing that you haven't seen before.
right, in today's
But it's
world.
kind of, it's kind of new for us.
Exactly. A little bit of saltiness in the dining room,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
sets the tone in the air. And then give us our dates and phone number and all of that good stuff.
Marian Theatre Guild, St. John Church, 119th Street and Lincoln Avenue in Whiting. Our phone number is 219-473-0713. Production dates for the dining room directed by Morgan McCabe. Saturday, April 18th and 25 at 7:30 p.m. Sundays, April 19 and 26, matinee at 3 p.m. Dinner shows available on Saturday evening by reservation. The house seating is now general seating. They're not reserved seats. And again, as Phil had mentioned, walk-ups are available. So don't,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Support
that
Live
sets you
Theater.
back.
Please come see us.
Yes.
Yes, and then
It's an excellent, excellent cast. All wonderful people, lots of veterans, and it's going to be a very good
Yes.
show. And a newcomer.
yeah, we love that, exactly.
One of-
Veteran and also
Our
a
token
new face,
newcomer.
new talent. And as the viewers and listeners know so often with this broadcast, we always emphasize when you hear the price of that ticket price covers just a mere fraction of everything that goes into.
Oh,
You've got
absolutely.
wonderful underwriters and sponsors
Absolutely.
yourselves and families
somebody-
that make it
yeah, I mean,
possible.
this isn't that way, but even this is that way. The royalties, was rather surprised at how they have gone up. But for a musical,
Oh,
royalties, you're talking $5,000.
Yes,
Yeah.
the licensing and the royalties are
Yeah.
for our houses in New York to produce this, and folks forget that there is a long layered checklist of contracts that happen when you're doing these famous titles that folks like to see so much. Thank you so much. Make sure you come back again. Is there already a nod, or does your programming committee not know what's around the corner for the next, or do you want to drop
Well,
a
the
title
royalty
name?
companies are holding us up.
Are they so? Okay.
It's amazing. It's taking a lot longer. Like with a straight show like this, you'd call Samuel French and
Yes.
they'd give you the rights. And well, now it's with a general contractor that handles, Samuel French, dramatists, the Disney stuff.
Right.
I forget some of the others, but it's a central location. And you have to put a request in, and you wait sometimes months for a response.
They have
It's
that tricky
amazing.
equation, right, where they're looking to see, before we give it to you, we got to make sure geographically it's
Yeah,
not,
well,
or is it
and
going to
the
go on tour
that-
again?
Well, one we're looking at is currently on tour, so they have to contact the touring
Yeah.
company to find out what their schedule is going to be. And
Marty,
so
we're
it's
glad that
taking a
you're
while.
there and you do what you do, because
thank
you
you.
wear a lot of hats, including the dining room right now.
Yep.
As we close here, as promised, my reminder with, if you're tuned in with our cameras, we have a vase of some very deep, dark purple lilacs that are in our dining room vase on our desk here. That's a reminder that yesterday we spent some time at the Hard Rock, Northern Indiana. Jim Delo was there and the other media for a ribbon cutting for their high limit room. And I just want to give a quick nod of that space revised. The purple was a reminder because they also have their Plum Lounge, which are the VIP folks. High rollers can go in and experience some lavish cocktails and dining and special treatment before they go out on the floor and take their chance at some fun gaming. They've added brand new animated slots, including some in that high limit room, where when you put in your investment, that first push or pull on the slot could net you $1 million with winnings in a jackpot that can come right there. But in contrast, on the back wall, they have some of the old-fashioned reel-to-reels that are the lucky sevens, where they have the pull of a handle, if you so choose, because our high roller or limit friends can sometimes be folks that are nostalgic and they like that old-fashioned touch to it. They also had some of the old-fashioned video poker, but those brand new video animatronic slot gaming opportunities are incredible, and many of them were all themed. There was one that was for King Kong the movie. There was another one I saw that was Three Little Pigs. All types of different variations. So the quick highlights is 50 brand new slot machines and many of the favorite global titles. Each of those slots nowadays, we were told yesterday, are about $30,000 a piece. So when you're banging on those buttons and pulling levers, know that it is a pricey piece of equipment there. And there's an increase in one of the most popular games anywhere in that space, the Dragon Link game there. So they only had about 7. Now they've got up to 11. It's your chance. It's right there down the road from us, our friends at the Hard Rock, Northern Indiana. Of course, also great entertainment for concerts in their venue, and their gaming and their dining is not to be missed. You can find out more information, again, by visiting Hard Rock, Northern Indiana, and they'll have the entire scoop there for you as well. Again, I thank my guests today, and to all of you, our listeners and viewers, for tuning in for this edition of Notoriety. I'm your host, Phil Potempa, on this April the 16th, 2026. No matter when you're listening, if it's a rebroadcast, we hope that you enjoy wherever your path might take you, be it morning, afternoon, or evening.